talking about animals. This is a review video of some standards you may have learned in earlier grades. So sit through it, take notes. You're going to get to do a really cool project to present to the younger kids when we're done with this. Animals Review Center. Animals are separated into different groups. Pay attention to the V's. We're going to talk about that in a little while. Mammals give live birth, they produce milk, they're covered in hair or fur, and they have mammary glands that produces the milk. That's why they're called mammals. We are mammals, our dogs are mammals, our cats are mammals, dolphins and whales are mammals, lots and lots of things are mammals. Birds, they have feathers, they have wings, they lay eggs. All birds don't fly. Remember ostriches and penguins. They don't fly, but they have wings, they have feathers. Penguins' feathers are especially adapted to their environment. Reptiles. They have dry, smooth skin. They're cold-blooded and they lay eggs. Even though snakes don't look like they're dry and smooth, their skin is covered in scales and that's what they have. Reptiles are turtles, snakes, lizards, crocodiles, alligators. We have lots of reptiles in Florida that you would see here. They're cold-blooded. That means they can't regulate their own temperature. We're warm-blooded. If you touch someone, their hands are usually kind of warm. Their body is warm because our heart beats warm blood through our bodies. Reptiles can't regulate their temperature at all. There's nothing in them that keeps them warm. They have to go and sun out in the sun. So if you see an alligator laying out by the bank, it's not trying to catch some rays and be cool and have a suntan, I promise. It's trying to get the warmth from the sun to warm up its body and warm up its blood. Amphibians are also cold-blooded, so they sun like the reptiles do to warm up their bodies. They can't regulate their own temperature. Amphibians, though, have wet, smooth skin. So reptiles are dry, amphibians have wet. Amphibians usually live in moist, damp areas because if they live out in too much sun without any moisture, without the humidity, then they will dehydrate and just like dry up, and that would be really gross, and they don't want to do that. They're vertebrates. Mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians are all vertebrates. They have backbones. Amphibians live on water and on land. They're cold-blooded like we already talked about, and they lay eggs. Fish, most fish are also vertebrates. They have scales, they lay eggs, they live in the water, and they have gills. Now, arthropods. You might not be familiar with that word. Arthropods are just insects. There are more arthropods on Earth than all of these other groups combined. More arthropods than there are mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. 3/4 of all animals are arthropods, so it's kind of important to know about. They have an exoskeleton. Their skeleton's on the outside, which means they're an invertebrate. They don't have a backbone. They have 6 jointed legs, like your knee's a joint, your elbow's a joint, and they have 3 main parts of their body: a head, a thorax, and a body. So vertebrates, like we've talked about, have a backbone. Some of these are mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and most fish are vertebrates. They have a backbone, they have a spine. Invertebrates. Vertebrates have a spine. In is our prefix here. Invertebrate, they don't have a backbone. They don't have a spinal column. They're arthropods mostly, or insects. They have external skeletons, exoskeletons. Like a grasshopper, if you accidentally step on a grasshopper or a cockroach, it goes crunch because you're stepping on the outside, and that's its bones. The bones are on the outside of an exoskeleton. They have no bones on the inside. Now, as animals grow and change, they go through lots of different life cycle changes. Complete metamorphosis happens in insects. Most insects, they go from an egg, like this butterfly egg on a leaf, to a larva. See our little caterpillar eating holes on a leaf. This is where they do most of their feeding. And then they curl up in their pupa. They stay inactive for a long period of time. And they emerge looking completely different because their bones are on the outside. They shed their exoskeleton and they become an adult. They look completely different than the larva stage and the pupa stage. And then again, it can lay eggs and go through the life cycle again. Some insects have incomplete metamorphosis. They start as an egg, then they grow into a nymph, which just looks like a young adult, and finally they're a big adult. So this is dragonfly. Dragonflies are one of the insects that has an incomplete metamorphosis. It goes from egg to nymph. This is a word we don't talk about too much. It's an important word, nymph, which just means a young insect. And this is where it does most of its feeding, and then it grows into a grown adult. Now, humans have a very simple life cycle. First, we're not born. Okay, so there's a mom expecting a baby to come to the family. Then we're born. We look like little adults. Okay, so we look like shrunken little adults with no necks. But we still are adults. We have our fingers, we have our toes. We don't look as different as a caterpillar and a butterfly. We just look like shrunken adults. So as we grow up, we then become adults. So we only have 3 stages in our life cycle. Not born, not born, young, and adult. That's all we have. That's a simple lifestyle cycle. All right, so go ahead and look at the directions that you have, and you'll find out about the cool, fun project you get to do for the younger kids. All right, I'll see you next time.